The message was clear. The continent needs to create a market space which will allow trade and investment possible. A 3-day summit in Luanda has urged the African Union member states to increase intra-trade in an effort to generate adequate capital to address the infrastructure challenges on the continent. AU Development Agency NEPAD CEO Nados Bekele Thomas says that the continent is capable of generating the much-needed funds.
We are recalibrating the Presidential Infrastructure Champion Initiative into a decisive problem-solving platform. It will now serve as a direct conduit linking the political authority of heads of state and government to the technical delivery mechanisms on the ground, ensuring that bottlenecks are escalated and resolved at the highest level.
AU Commissioner for Infrastructure and Energy, Lerato Matabuche, says that the summit has taken a resolution to formulate new policies which will enable intra-trade and investment among member states.
From the policy standpoint, in the railways, we did indeed resolve to transform ourselves from being landlocked to being land-linked. Discussions on financing an African integrated and cross-border rail network system reaffirmed rail as a transformative force for trade and integration. Those discussions called for mobilizing innovative financing through blended instruments, green bonds, and sovereign private partnerships. The discussions called for establishing a continental railway agency to ensure interoperability, safety, and efficiency.
Meanwhile, South Africa's G20 presidency has been one of the drivers to champion Africa's agenda. Minister in the presidency responsible for planning, monitoring, and evaluation, Maropene Ramakgopa, says that Pretoria's G20 presidency has been vocal in advancing Africa's priorities.
The cost of capital is what most countries have actually raised, most especially yesterday. The cost of capital is too high for African countries, and it doesn't make sense because when you look at the risk that they are actually raising and what is happening in other parts of the globe, for example, in the Americas as well, Southern America in particular, you would then now find that the risk that they are raising also exists there, but the cost of capital, of raising capital, as you then now would compare the two, does not make sense. So that is what most countries have actually raised, to say that if we don't deal with the cost of raising capital, we are not going to find ourselves being able to fund most of our developmental and economic activities, but most of all, the ability to support and utilize the domestic capital that is already here.
Auda Nepad, head of infrastructure and transport unit, Ibra Wabaho, has commended South Africa for its leadership role through G20 presidency.
It's fair to start by really commending the South African diplomacy and the leadership in the G20 presidency. This, as African and as African Union institution, I think we should be very proud of it, of the stewardship of South Africa in this G20 presidency in a very uncertain and stormy environment. I think South Africa is showing leadership.
The 3-day summit concluded with agreements signed and expected to be implemented to address the Africa's challenges with the focus on infrastructure. Ditaba, Tsotetsi, SABC News in Luanda, Angola.